topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Barry G. Fowler, EA, brings you Tax Talk for You right here on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. As an enrolled agent and a national leader in tax resolution, as well as trucker, bookkeeping, and tax planning with over 30 years of experience, Barry will break down taxes, bookkeeping, tax planning, and tax relief for individuals and businesses just like you. So let's have some Tax Talk for You with your host, Barry G. Fowler.
Hey, welcome and good morning. Hopefully we have a lot of truckers here over the road. Maybe you're a W-2 driver and you're looking to become an over-the-road trucker. I mean, Monday mornings is a great day to start, talking about, bookkeeping and taxes for truckers. I mean, you guys have a lot of work on the road, away from home, limited time to do things such as bookkeeping, much less trying to do your own taxes. And, when you're out there on the road and don't have the time, it becomes very, very complicated. But yet, as an owner operator, you're a business person. You are in business. Hey, it's a great Monday morning. It's great to be here talking about bookkeeping and taxes and, specifically, working with owner operators. And a lot of this that we talk about today, because we're talking about keeping it simple. The old KISS philosophy, keep it simple, stupid. And, we're just trying to keep it simple. That's all we're trying to do so that anybody can do it. Anybody can track their expenses. Now, using a bookkeeping company like Trucker Tax Tools is going to give you a lot better information. It's going to give you information that can help you run your business to where you can sit down and look at the profit and loss balance sheet and maybe understand a little bit more what's going on in your business. But today we need to talk about keeping it simple. And Mondays are a great day to do that because who wants to get lost in the details of, bookkeeping or taxes, especially on a Monday morning. And, we're happy to be here helping. And if you got questions, make sure you send the questions in. Now, again, if you're an owner operator, maybe you're looking to become an owner operator. OOIDA, Owner Operator Independent Drivers Association, along with their foundation, every year usually puts on a seminar called Truck to Success. And it's a great seminar where they're actually going through everything it takes to be in business as an owner operator. So if you're looking out there to become, an owner operator, Truck to Success seminar walks you through everything from developing a business plan that actually works for you, maybe buying a new or used truck, equipment financing, insurance, pros and cons of running under your own authority or even leasing on to a carrier. And then if you're new entering into the business, safety audits and compliance, the wonderful drug and alcohol testing requirements, permits, licensing, brokerage firms, factoring, a lot of the current issues that are affecting the industry. And then my favorite and the best speaker that they have there is business structure, business taxes, and business bookkeeping. And guess who's there? Me. I get to do this stuff. As president and founder of Trucker Tax Tools, Taxation Solutions, I get invited to come up and speak to these people wanting to get started in business. And wanting to know, what is the proper business structure? What's going to happen to my taxes as a business owner? And then especially, how do I keep track of what's going on in my business? And, that becomes one of the highlights of the session because, we take the time to go through exactly what you're looking for and what you need as a business owner. Now, we say this because, we specialize in dealing with truckers at Trucker Tax Tools. And so if you are an over-the-road trucker and looking for some great pricing on bookkeeping and taxes, things that most companies don't include that we do include to help you, the owner-operator, you can go to truckertaxtools.com. Again, it's truckertaxtools.com, or call us at 877-996-2477. And when you call that number, mention you heard it here on Tax Talk for you so that you can get your proper discounts. We gave you great discounts just for listening to the show. We want you to be informed business owner. And again, hey, man, people don't think about it. I am an over-the-road trucker owner operator. Working for who? Myself. And when you work for yourself, it comes with a lot of regulations, requirements, including things, bookkeeping and taxes. So, we need to get you up to speed so that, hey, you're ready to go and that you don't have tax problems that need a solution to solve them. So, maybe if you're one of those truckers, and we've helped many truckers that owe $10,000, $20,000, or much, much more, you can go to taxationsolutions.net or call us at 888-930-1016. Again, 888-930-1016. Hey, mention the show, get some special discounts. All right, bookkeeping. And why is it important? Well, bookkeeping keeps track of not just your gross revenues that are coming in, but it also keeps track of all the money going out. And trust me, there's a lot of money that goes out in the trucking business. Yeah, some of it's really easy. Okay. You may be leased on to somebody that give you a settlement statement, and each week it breaks down, here's your gross revenue, and here's certain expenses they pull out, such as fuel. One of your largest, if not the largest expense you're going to have in the trucking business is the cost of fuel. So if you're leased on, it's really simple, really easy, because they're going to track it for you. Now, I will say this, you might want to keep your receipts, and you might want to look at your settlement statements to make sure they're deducting the correct amount of fuel. Now, they may be giving you some discounts and everything else, so maybe the fuel's less than what you paid at the pump. Awesome. It's a good thing. Every now and then, you see it on their settlement statements and they charged you more. You need to take that receipt back to your company you're leased onto and let them know there's something wrong. The other expenses they could be charging you for. They could be charging you for insurance. Maybe you took some advances. Make sure the advances are correct. You may have paid a lumper and they've deducted that from there. Maybe you had some damage to the goods that you dropped off and they made that deduction. Is that deduction right? Are you responsible? Look at your lease. Go back and see what the terms are when you decided to lease on with it. Now, if you're operating under your own authority and you're not leased on to anybody, now you're dealing with fuel yourself. Did you put on your EFS card? Do you have a fuel card? Do these cards come with any kind of discounts? Are you factoring invoices? And maybe they're offering you a fuel card with discounts, and you're taking advantage of that. Are they charging you the right amount? Are their holdbacks correct in factoring? See, these things are all the things that get really, really complicated. So the first thing that I tell you to do, if you're going to keep your own bookkeeping, and even if you're not, even if you're going to just keep track of receipts and what you paid and what went out, get a folder for each month. And better yet, if you get one of those expanding folders, you can put different sections in there for, fuel, maintenance, telephone, whatever the expenses may be that you're charging to your business. Have a separate section in that folder, put the receipts right in there as soon as you get back into your truck before you get going down the road. Because I guarantee you, if you don't do it and you don't make it a habit, you're not going to follow through. I've seen many trucks, receipts just on the floor, receipts just thrown into the back. You want to keep your truck nice, clean, and neat. You want to, that's where you live. If you're on the road 70, 80% of the year, guess where you are staying? You're in that truck. So you do want to, not have receipts all over the place. You do want to make sure that you file on them. And maybe you just need to take your phone, take a picture of the receipt, and have folders on your phone. Keep it simple, put it there. Those are the kind of little things that you can do in the philosophy of keeping it simple. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about bad or no bookkeeping and what is the problem. What can happen when you have no bookkeeping? And we'll do that right after this.
We have only scratched the surface of today's show. Please stand by as Barry G. Fowler will be right back with Tax Talk for You. If you owe the IRS or are going through an IRS audit, don't go at it alone. Call Taxation Solutions Tax Relief at 888-930-1016. We are your solution for IRS debts, audits, back taxes, garnishments, liens, and levies. Whether you're an individual or business, you need a solution and a strong, aggressive tax resolution. Don't let the IRS walk all over you. Stop the IRS now. Call 888-930-1016 or go to taxationsolutions.net now for a free, no obligation consultation. Let's get back to Tax Talk for You with more Tax Talk. Once again, here's your host, Barry G. Fowler.
A truck to success, I get asked a lot of questions. I spend a lot of time with truckers talking to them about being in business. Hey, what's my business structure? What's the best way for taxes? What should we do to help us reduce the taxes? And we come back to the first thing, and that's bookkeeping. And we talk a lot about bad and what is bad bookkeeping. We start out with no bookkeeping is the bad bookkeeping to begin with. If you're not keeping track of your business through keeping your financial statements, keeping bookkeeping, knowing what's coming in, what's going out, where it's going, that is terrible, bad, worst bookkeeping you could possibly have. And what happens when you're doing bad bookkeeping or no bookkeeping? You're missing deductible business expenses. What should be deductible? What shouldn't be deductible in your business? You don't want to miss those expenses. And when you're missing those expenses, then you have completely incomplete bookkeeping. If you're only doing it half-hearted or keeping up with it a little bit, It's not keeping up with what's going on in your business. Again, you're a businessman. It's not what cash I have in my pocket today. It's how we can save money on taxes. Saving money on taxes guarantees that you're going to lower your tax burden, pay less. If you're paying more in tax and you shouldn't be, well, you've now paid it out here that's not deductible, and then you're paying it over here to Uncle Sam because you didn't find the deductions. You didn't look for them. You didn't know what you were looking for. You missed them because you forgot to save the receipt. You forgot to document, and you don't know. Bookkeeping after the fact is really only half-hearted bookkeeping because you can only do what you can find. Something else that happens in bad bookkeeping is not reading your settlement statements. Even though you may be a bookkeeping client of ours, we read your settlement statements. We go through your settlement statements. When we find a mistake, we let you know there's a mistake. But sometimes there's things we can't see that you know. And if you read your settlement statement, you would understand what they're charging you. Oh, wait a minute. I just got charged back for some damage. Oh, wait a minute. They're taking out insurance for what? Now I got duplicate insurance. I've got insurance over here that I'm paying for, and now they're making me pay them. So find out what that insurance coverage is. Maybe you don't need both. Maybe you do. Read your settlement statement, ask the questions. Hey, something we see in our industry, you hire a bookkeeper or a bookkeeping firm, and they kind of don't know trucking. They have no clue the different deductions for truckers. I've seen it where they don't even know some of the basics to even look for a settlement statement. That all they're doing is recording the amount of money that was deposited in your bank account, but they're not taking and putting the gross amount and deducting the expenses. Then you get your 1099. And why is my 1099 $50,000 higher than what went into my bank or what you're showing in your bookkeeping? Because they didn't pick up fuel and insurance expense and gross up for the gross revenues that you should have gotten that they sent you the 1099 on. So they don't know to look for other expenses. They don't know to look for per diems and how many nights you were on the road away from home, or even how to calculate it, or that you get 80% of per diems. It's not a 50-50 thing, like regular meals or regular travel for ordinary people that are running a business for taking meals and entertainment. You get the 80% because of DOT rules, because of IRS rules, and because you are the on-the-road trucker. Hey, you're going over the road, you get these per diems. It makes things nice. It makes things simple. So check your bookkeeper, make sure they know trucking. We've even seen bookkeeping companies that are relatively large in the trucking industry who do the books really to only care about their bottom line, not yours. It's not what you charge, it's how well you do bookkeeping. If you're just getting a cash flow statement of what went in and what went out, and here's your cash flow. Hey, look at your bank statement. Your bank statement, if everything is going through your bank account, is the same as a cash flow statement for the most part, but you just don't know where it's going. Here, all they're doing is listing out, oh, you had a truck payment, you had a trailer payment, you had an insurance payment. They didn't break out principal and interest. They didn't look for other deductions. They never asked a single question of what this was or what this wasn't. But they gave you a nice looking cash flow statement that makes no sense whatsoever. We've had to fix their stuff because people come to us and do taxes and we go, no, this isn't right. They haven't even broken these things out because the only deductible portion of your equipment that you're purchasing is the interest expense. You get depreciation for the truck. The principal that gets paid back is principal, so it offsets your liability. It's not a deductible expense. But they didn't tell you that. They didn't explain this to you. No way, shape, or form. So look at it for what you got. If you get a bookkeeping and they're giving you financial statements and they don't give you a balance sheet and a profit and loss, run. Come to truckertaxtools.com. Let us show you what bookkeeping looks like. And then you compare. We'll even explain your financial statements to you. If you got questions, call us. We got somebody that will explain them to you. We'll go through them to you, how to look at them. We've designed our own special program to where we have financial statements that you can actually look at. Here is my gross revenue. Here is my cost of service. Here's what I'm making before general and administrative expenses. You can take this financial statement, roll it into the spreadsheet that OOIDA Foundation has called cost per mile. You can look that up on their web, how to calculate cost per mile from OOIDA, and you can find that spreadsheet. You can drop in numbers on that spreadsheet to determine what is my fixed cost per mile, what is my operating cost per mile. This becomes an easy routine to know, hey, what should I be charging per mile just to break even? And what should I be charging gross to be able to make a what? A profit. You're in business. You need one desire to make a profit from your business. Otherwise, you're just spinning your wheels, sitting on ice, and wheels are just going round and round and round. No chains, no nothing to get you going. And you're just sitting in place, spinning. That's it. If all you're doing is working to pay your debt on your truck and your trailer and pay everybody else, but not yourself, get out of business. That's all I can say. Get out of business. You don't need to be in business. Go back to being a W-2 driver. There's more money in a W-2 driver than being an over-the-road trucker, owner-operator that is just sitting there spinning their wheels, not making money, just paying down loans, paying for insurance, paying others. There's a great book out there, Wealthy Barber. You should be paying yourself 10% first and foremost, going right to what? Retirement. And most truckers don't ever save for retirement. So, you should be putting money away. You should be able to pay yourself before everything else. So you got to be looking for ways to make it simple, to look at the systems, to know that you are making money. You're deducting the things that you need to be deducting. And we're going to take a quick break. We're going to get back to keeping it simple, stupid, the KISS method. What should you be doing now as an owner-operator to keep it simple? And then we'll start talking about how to make things that you're paying after-tax dollars, pre-tax dollars, to save even more money. We'll do that right after this.
We have only scratched the surface of today's show. Please stand by as Barry G. Fowler will be right back with Tax Talk for you. As an owner-operator, you already spend too much time away from your family. Trucker Tax Tools handles all your bookkeeping and taxes no matter what level trucker you are. Life on the road can be taxing, but that doesn't mean that your wallet or time with your family should suffer. Trucker Tax Tools makes your life run smoothly. Go to truckertaxtools.com for a free guide that will give you the tools to never worry about your taxes again. Call Trucker Tax Tools 877-966-2600. 824-2477 or go to truckertaxtools.com now and let the experts keep you trucking. Let's get back to Tax Talk for You with more Tax Talk. Once again, here's your host, Barry G. Fowler.
Hey, welcome back. Keeping it simple. Keeping bookkeeping simple. I've looked at all the different ads online, being in the business and comparing, what other people are doing. I've seen some companies out here, bragging about being able to finish your bookkeeping for last year or last 12 months, or whatever that may be, within 48 hours. There's a catch to it. One, they're kind of using AI and scanning things and skipping, or they're sending it overseas. But the 48 hours doesn't start until you get all the documents there. And then their 48 hours is just to process whatever you submitted. Not to say that it ever makes sense. And trust me, I know truckers inside and out. You're not always getting all the documents to us, probably, or to them, timely out there. And sometimes it's piecemealed in and you provide half the information and we've got to go back and get you to fill in the gaps. Maybe that's what they're doing too. I really don't know. So sometimes don't fall for those things. And, they're, $200 a month for their, hey, we start below that. Our basic bookkeeping starts at $25 a week. That's, maybe $125 some months, So, we've got reasonable costs for bookkeeping. We've got full-fledged plans that include bookkeeping and taxes. And, all you got to do is give us a call, let us look at it and get started. We'll give you a quote, and then we can get you going in the right direction. So go to truckertaxtools.com. You can get information over there, or feel free to give us a call and let us get started. And all you got to do is call us at 877-996-6477 and mention you heard it right here on W4CY Radio, Tax Talk for You. Keeping it simple. That's supposed to sound simple, but it kind of is. It starts with save every receipt. Open a separate checking account just for your business. Now, if you formed an LLC or you formed an Inc., you got to open that separate checking account for that business. Don't run anything personal through that account. Only business expenses. If you put money into the business, you contributed money to the business. Keep that documentation so that it's not everything that goes through your business bank account is revenue. Sometimes you're making an investment. Sometimes you've taken a loan from a bank. So, you want to be able to keep those documents and keep that information so that it doesn't get included in your revenue. See, if you get audited, IRS is going to ask for all your bank statements for that year, and any money that goes in, the IRS is going to tell you, point blank, that all the revenue, everything that was deposited is considered revenue until you explain otherwise and show the documentation. So if you got a loan to go out and buy a truck or a trailer, or you put cash into the business to get it started, keep that documentation so that you have it. And opening that separate checking account, you can show, hey, this transferred from personal to business, and there you go. If you need to pay personal expenses, take a distribution, move the money from your business account to your personal account, and then pay your personal expenses out of there. Now, I'm not an attorney, never wanted to be an attorney, and don't charge legal fees, but I've talked to many, many attorneys, and they tell you the same thing. Once you start commingling business and personal, any liability protection that you may have had kind of pierces that corporate veil. If you get audited, you've now commingled business and personal. Sometimes the IRS agents will frown upon that and see right through that as well. The other thing we tell you to do is use a separate card for business expenses. So maybe you couldn't get a line of credit or a business credit card in the business name when you first get started, and you're going to use a personal card for the business. Make that personal card only for business. Make it have started with a zero balance and only charge things that are business related on that card, nothing else, so that it can be tracked separately, not with both business and personal out there, to where you've got to determine what percentage of that interest rate is covered by the business and is covered by personal. So if you are going to charge on a credit card and have a revolving debt, then yes, you do want to make sure you're dealing with one card or two that are just exclusively used for business. Now, we tell you to save your logbooks. Now, logbooks is the old-fashioned way. People, you used to, as a owner-operator, would have your paper logbooks that are out there, W-2 drivers. So every time you stopped and did things, you logged your mileage and everything else. Now, you have an ELD. So you have an electronic log. Save a copy of these logs. They can be used to prove per diems. They can also be used to track your mileage. We tell you to get a notebook. Carry that notebook with you, with your receipts and an envelope, so that you can make a note of special items that are out there, so you can be able to track it. Hey, they have wonderful notes sometimes right here in an app on your phone. You can use that as well. It's whatever you're comfortable with. You can take pictures of your receipts. I recommend it. And put them into a folder so you have them. Don't just put them in your general folders, but move them and put them in a separate folder that's for business. And you can even set those folders up by year and month if you wanted to. But we suggest you do that because receipts do fade over a period of time. And if you do that with your phone, hey, they're saved out there, not just on your phone, but if you got a backup on your phone, then they're saved up in the cloud. And guess what? You've got multiple copies of them. Or if you've got OneDrive or Google Drive or something like that, you can take pictures and move it over to one of those drives and not have it residing on your phone. And you can delete it and stuff. Just be diligent in doing that. Loans. Keep those loans documents. First thing I'm going to say about loans, and I say this all the time, before you sign a loan, read the loan document. I don't care if it's something as simple as getting loan, maybe on an APU. Read it. What's my interest rate? What is this really going to cost me? Is there a better way of financing this? Maybe your tractor, your trailer. You're getting out there, you're purchasing it. Know what the interest rate is behind it. Know what this is going to cost you over the long haul. See, that's the hard part. It's going to cost you money over a long period of time while you're paying this. Hey, I've seen people sign these things, have no clue what their interest rate is or what this is costing you. You may be signing a loan, maybe you're signing a lease, and you have no clue because you didn't look at it, or they did it all in lump sum. Hey, your $50,000 truck now is costing you $100,000 because they have payments for 5 years, and you didn't really think about how much money this lease was going to cost you at the end of the day. but they embedded a lot of interest or other expenses in there, and you're now forking that money out over a longer period of time. So you kind of got to watch what they're doing. So read everything before you sign it. Again, read everything before you sign it. Hey, we do contracts, engagement letters with our clients. We tell them, read them before you sign. Know what you're signing. For loans, leases, equipment purchases, when you lease on, read the documents, read the fine print, know what's going to happen. Equipment purchases. Again, save the receipt, save that buyer's order so you can make sure that you get credit for all the depreciation that you should have. Don't let somebody just take your word for what I bought this truck for. There's many a times I hear from people, oh, I paid $75,000 for it. Well, we get their buyer's order and they paid 78 or 79, or they tacked in other fees and they didn't think about the taxes and other fees that are being charged. So now you're over 80,000, whatever that number is. You need to make sure that you're using the right number for depreciation. And you don't want to have errors. We see that all the time. We bring in somebody for bookkeeping with us and taxes with us. We get their documents, we get their tax return, and we went back and tied out everything to their buyer's order, and come, lo and behold, they either overestimated what they paid for the truck or underestimated what they paid for the truck, but it doesn't tie to anything particular. Maybe the person that was doing your taxes had no clue to come back to you and ask you for those documentations so they could get it right. So equipment purchases, that buyer's order, at the end of the day, is extremely important when we get to doing your taxes. Not only that, it's important on your financial statements, because as an asset, you want it recorded correctly on the balance sheet, so you know what you own and equipment, and what the original value was, and what is the depreciation I'm taking each and every year. And then the last thing is hey, save your records. You know, we're wanting to keep it simple. Save your receipts, save your records. Don't let them get lost in any way, shape, or form. That's why I do tell you, hey, if you're using the cloud, it's a great place to put things, keeping it simple. You know, and then you don't have to buy maybe that expanding folder. You don't need the calculators and some of the other things that you could be buying to keep track of things. If you're using your phone or maybe a laptop or computer, you could do some of this through Excel, where you can track some of the expenses in a decent way. But was it going to give you the proper financial statements? No, it's not going to give you the proper financials to run your business the right way. It is going to give you a simple way of at least doing something and keeping those things together. A lot of information, a lot of things that you could do. You know, what I tell you, make sure you're getting a good service to help you with your bookkeeping as a trucker, as an over-the-road driver. Call us today at 877-996-2477. Again, it's 877-996-2477, or go to truckertaxtools.com. And don't forget to mention Tax Talk for You so we can give you the special discounts we have going today. Hey, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the most overlooked truck driver deductions there are. We'll do that right after this.
We have only scratched the surface of today's show. Please stand by, as Barry G. Fowler will be right back with Tax Talk for You. As an owner-operator, you already spend too much time away from your family. Stop spending time doing paperwork. Go to truckertaxtools.com, a solution built specifically for truckers. Truckertaxtools.com makes your life run smoothly. Let's get back to Tax Talk for You with more Tax Talk. Once again, here's your host, Barry G. Fowler.
All right, welcome back. We got some of the most overlooked truck driver deductions there are. Some of these seems to be maybe inexpensive, maybe little items, but remember, everything adds up. So if you are paying self-employment tax, 15.3% on your bottom line, and maybe you're paying a 20% federal income tax marginally, and then add to that whatever your state income tax, if you have one, to it. Well, you're at 35, maybe 40%. So 40 cents of every dollar that you spend could be savings on taxes. So you're going to reduce your tax burden, your taxable income by $1. It saves you 40 cents. So when you start thinking about all these things that you could be missing, not deducting, it adds up to quite a bit of money, and it could be saving you quite a bit of money. So, things like association dues, if you're paying for OOIDA or American Trucking Association, or even any state trucking association that's out there, and you're paying dues in, those are deductible. Your bank fees, the fees the bank charges you to have your bank account, are deductible. Your cell phone and internet plans, they're deductible. Now, cell phones, internet, you're going to have to back out personal use of cell phones. But if you're using them in the truck and it's 80% business, 90% business, whatever it may be, or maybe it's only business, if you got that, you can have that deductible. So, these are expenses that we're going through that are deductible for you, because as a general rule by the IRS, for you to have a deduction to be deductible, it has to be any expense incurred that are necessary or required in the operation of your trucking business, not just operation of your truck, of your trucking business. So some are really simple, it's like truck and trailer that you bought or leased. Those are deductible business expenses. Now, things that we just talked about, association dues, bank fees, cell phones. Yeah, some of that may be simple and common sense, but they're overlooked at times. Purchasing a coffee pot, certifications, a simple calculator, cleaning supplies, clean your truck, your chains for your truck, envelopes to keep track of business expenses and receipts, a stapler to staple those receipts or other paperwork together. If you get tax and bookkeeping service, guess what? Those services are deductible. So when you pay to get your tax return done, you can deduct that as a business expense in the year you paid it. Your license fees, your fire extinguisher, ice scrapers, excise taxes, road atlas. If you still have one, many people, I'll tell you, at the Truck to Success, I ask everybody, do you have a road atlas? Sometimes it's 50-50. Some people just count on their GPS. I'm sorry. There are many places I have been where my GPS just doesn't work. And unless I have been running those roads across that section of the country, I wouldn't necessarily know how to get from point A to point B unless I've been on that road before. Maybe I looked at it and I know that, hey, I'm going from, I-10 up to I-20, and I got to take this road, fine. And then I got to head east or west when I hit I-20 or whatever road you may be going to. That may be simple. But if your GPS craps out and you're just taking maybe back roads or some, hey, you might need that road atlas to figure out where you're going. Purchase of it is deductible. And of course, your fuel and things to operate your truck, the paper that you may need to keep track of expenses, pens, Insurance. So your liability insurance, your equipment insurance, all these things are deductible. Workers' comp, that's deductible, but life insurance is not deductible. If you deduct life insurance and life insurance pays out, those benefits become taxable benefits. You do not want life insurance to be deducted. Interest expense. So when you're paying on your loan on your truck or trailer or other equipment, the interest portion of that is deductible. Labor, so you get to use a lumper, deductible. Your lease. Now, if it's an operating lease where you're not owning the truck or trailer or whatever equipment you're leasing, at the end of the lease, you turn it back in. Maybe those walk-away leases that they talk about, that you're not going to own the equipment at the end. Those leases are deductible. Now, if it's a capital lease, we actually got to capitalize the value of the truck and depreciate it, and the interest embedded in the lease is then deductible. So we've got to figure those things out. So becomes a little bit complicated, but an operating lease is. Your license fees, your maintenance and repairs are deductible. Now, if you're doing major engine overhaul, that may be capitalized and depreciated. Different rules for different types of maintenance out there. Your DOT medical exams. Medical expenses aren't deductible for your business unless maybe you are an 1120 and you have that as a benefit program, but that's a whole nother ball of wax out there. But your DOT medical exams are, because they're required for you to be in your business. The safety gear, steel-toed shoes, whatever other safety gear you may need, gloves to operate your business, are deductible. Satellite radio or satellite TV are deductible. Subscriptions you use within the truck are deductible. So you need to make sure you're looking and reviewing all your subscriptions, and then get them paid through the business, not through personal. Move the money, move the subscription to be in the right place to get all the tax deductions that you need. Tolls and parking, of course, they're deductible. As you're running tolls or scales, those are deductible. Parking your truck somewhere, whether it's overnight parking or whether it's parking when you're at home, those things are all deductible. Your tools, travel expenses. So, on top of per diems, if you maybe stay somewhere, you get lodging, or maybe you take a trip for the business for your corporate meetings, those travel expenses are deductible as well. Education. So, maybe you're getting hazmat certified and you're paying for the education, not the company you're going to drive for. Those deductions, the expense is deductible. Postage, deductible. And, as we talked about, scale fees, those things are deductible as well. What you got to remember is the IRS does require that expenses need to be ordinary and necessary for the operation of the business. We can get into the details about, maintenance and repairs. We're going to be talking about that maybe in next week's show. How do you make repairs and stuff deductible? What's an improvement? What's other repairs? And realistically, the only, we can go in depth in this. And that's one of the things that we will cover next week. Repairs and maintenance and improvements. What can you deduct? What do you have to capitalize? Hey, as always, man, we have fun out here Mondays, 10 a.m. Eastern Time on W4CY Radio. Tune in every Monday right here at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Get your questions in. Let us answer those questions. Let's make this question and answer about repairs, maintenance, and all things trucking. We'd love to be out here and doing this. But the one thing you got to do, and one thing constant, is tuning in here 10 a.m. Eastern Time at W4CY Radio. Follow us at Tax Talk, 4u.com, so that you never miss an episode. And of course, you can find us on all the podcasting sites like iHeart, Spotify, and stuff. You have a very God-blessed and glorious week, and we will see you next week on Tax Talk 4u.com. See you next week.
Are you an individual or business that wants to understand taxes and how they affect you? Are you looking for specific tax advice for self-employed, business owners, and truckers? Are you behind on taxes and your bookkeeping? Are you dealing with the IRS and ready to have some relief? Then you need Tax Talk for You, hosted by tax and trucker expert Barry G. Fowler, EA. Tune in 10 a.m. Eastern Time every Monday right here on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Don't forget to check this and past episodes at taxtalkforyou.com. See you next week at W4CY.com.